Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again for another deep dive. Today we're going all the way to Burkina Faso.
Right.
We've got a really fascinating piece of, it's basically like pasted text that lays out this new law they have.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's all about prison overcrowding and how they're trying to tackle it. So our mission today is to unpack that law and see what we can learn from it.
Sounds good. I'm interested to hear about this.
Yeah, so prison overcrowding is a pretty global problem, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge issue in so many countries. Burkina Faso is not alone in this.
Right. And so what they're doing is they're introducing this the system of community service as a
Right.
primary sentence for certain offenses.
So instead of like just sending people straight to prison,
Exactly. Yeah, for less serious crimes, the judges can actually mandate community service as the main consequence.
wow, that's a pretty different way of thinking about things.
I know it's a real shift, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
and the thing is, it's not just like a one-off alternative or something.
Right.
The law is actually designed for judges to systematically impose community service for these specific nonviolent crimes.
Oh, so it's not just like a rare option, it's like part of the system.
It seems like they're really serious about trying to find alternatives to just locking people up.
That's really interesting.
And we even have a quote here from the Justice Minister, Adasso Rodriguez Bayala.
Okay.
He says, our prisons are overcrowded, which, I mean, no surprise there, right?
Right.
This reform, he says, not only alleviates overcrowding, but also repurposes those sentenced into contributing to society.
So they're hitting like two birds with one stone, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They want to reduce the prison population, obviously,
Yeah.
but they also want to make sure that people who are sentenced are actually, giving back and doing something positive.
That's cool. I like that approach.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot more rehabilitative than just punishment.
Definitely. It's more about like restorative justice, right?
Exactly.
Making amends and all that.
Yeah, it's not just about being punitive. It's about trying to have people actually contribute to society.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, I mean, the big thing for me is that shift away from just purely punishing people to actually thinking about how they can contribute.
Yeah, that's a big deal for sure.
It's saying, hey, maybe instead of just being behind bars, you can actually do something positive.
Right, like almost like a more positive outcome for everyone involved.
Exactly.
Although I do wonder about the practical side of things. Like,
Oh, yeah, good point.
do they have the infrastructure to handle all this?
Right, like to manage these community service placements.
Exactly, because if they don't have good systems in place, it could be tough to actually make this work the way they want it to.
Yeah, it's super important. Implementation is everything.
For sure.
So I'm curious, are there certain types of offenses where this might work better than others?
That's a good question. Um, I mean, things like petty theft or, minor property damage, stuff like that. Or maybe first-time drug possession. Those are often seen as suitable for community service.
Makes sense.
But it could be tricky in cases where the community has been really directly harmed.
Right, like if someone feels like community service isn't enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, that's where it could get complicated.
It's really interesting to think about how the community itself perceives these alternative sentences.
Oh, absolutely.
So, okay, big picture. Burkina Faso is trying to reduce overcrowding by making community service a standard option for nonviolent crimes.
Right, and it's like two-pronged approach.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're getting people out of prison, but they're also trying to do it in a way that rehabilitates people and is good for society.
Yeah. It's really a pretty fascinating approach to criminal justice reform.
I think so, too.
So what do you think about this? What do you think the long-term effects could be if this actually works?
That's a big question.
Like, could it inspire other countries to do something similar?
I think it definitely could. I mean, if Burkina Faso can show that this kind of system can work effectively and, actually have positive impacts, it could be a model for other places struggling with the same issues.
That would be amazing to see a real ripple effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this has been a really thought-provoking deep dive. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us.
You're welcome. It's been a really interesting conversation.
And to all our listeners out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So let us know what you think about this new approach to criminal justice in Burkina Faso.
Yeah, how do you think this kind of shift towards community service could change things in the long run?
It's a big question, but definitely worth thinking about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.